Now the question, what is everything made out of, is a big question. And the two possible answers to that question are big answers. Either everything is made out of one thing, or everything is made out of many different things. And those are big answers. They might be bigger than they might seem to you. If you've studied world religions or comparative religion, you might have learned, you should have learned, that one of the big differences among the world religions is the answer to that question. Is everything made out of one thing, or is everything made out of many different things? It's a bigger question than it might seem to you. Well, Thales put forward the idea that everything is made out of one thing, what he called water. Now, some other materialists will take the same line of thought, that everything's made out of one arche, one thing, one substance, okay? Although others will picture it more like air, others will picture that substance more like fire, but there's a general agreement for about 200 years that everything in the physical universe is made out of one thing, what Thales called water. Now, how could everything be made out of one thing, one substance, one arche, and yet still look as different as all the different things around me? Well, again, for a couple hundred years of working along these assumptions that everything's made out of one thing, the picture that you might have in your mind, I'm trying to get my pointer to work. You know, I'll never learn. The picture that you might have in your mind is of little pieces of the substance, the arche, little pieces of water, for Thales' say. Little pieces of this substance, I'm trying to draw little arches, okay? Little pieces of this substance form the particles, the parts of the world. And then you kind of play with these 6 qualifiers, all right? Qualities. Hot and cold, soft and hard and soft, dry and wet. And see when this arche, the substance stuff, little pieces of substance, when they're, let's say, when they're hard and dry and cold, then they're like, it acts kind of like rocks. When the arche is cold and wet and soft, it acts like water. When it is soft and dry and hot, it acts like fire, and so on. Well, a philosopher named Parmenides saw a problem here, okay? Think back to the picture that I've drawn kind of over here of the little pieces of arche, little pieces of substance that when they're cold, they stick together like ice or rocks, and when they get warm up a little bit, they get farther apart, like a molten metal or water or something. But Parmenides thinks about this picture of the world, and he thinks to himself, what is all the stuff, what is in between all the little pieces of arche? What's in between all the little pieces of substance there? It has to be one of two things. Either it's another substance, but he can't quite get his head around that. How could things be made of more than one thing? Or it has to be non-existent. Nothing. Nothing is in between. And if nothing is in between, then why doesn't it all collapse into a solid chunk in which nothing can change? Well, that's the little bit of an insight into what I think we're going to be talking about in a few minutes, Zeno, who reaches the conclusion that in fact Parmenides is right and that in the physical world nothing can change. But this is just a little more complex than you need to worry about. But this is just pointing out that that idea, that concept that everything is made out of one thing, well, we begin to see some problems. And for, like I said, for about 200 years, the idea that everything is made out of one thing will be very common. But then later materialists who will follow in the footsteps of a man named Empedocles, who is a Greek philosopher who lives about 200 years after Thales. Empedocles argues that everything is made of different things. The opposite suggestion than Thales makes. Everything is made of different things, and those different things are the 4 Greek elements: earth, water, air, and fire.